the man! You've got to beat the man! Woo! AJ Styles! You will rest in peace. I was just so far from here, focused on my own way.
What's happening, guys? This is episode 5 of the Wrestling Show, and I'm joined here with my friend Nitin Patel.
How you doing?
And we're here to talk wrestling. It's been a long time since my last episode, since I've taken some time off, and I'm back, and I'm glad to be reviving the show with my friend Nitin, and we got lots to talk about.
A lot.
First, we'll be talking about the current state of WWE, basically what we feel WWE is doing right and what they're doing wrong.
Let's get ready to rumble!
So Brock Lesnar is basically on part-time, and he doesn't wrestle very much.
No, he does not.
He hasn't been there that much, and he won the Universal title.
At WrestleMania.
And he's not defending it.
Well, you see, like he said, he's a part-time worker, so he doesn't have to show up for anybody. And in regards to the Universal Championship, well, it's the Universal Championship. How much value does it really have? If you look at it, it started at SummerSlam. Finn Balor wins it. He's never gotten his rematch, and he never will get his rematch. Kevin Owens wins the championship. He's too busy being the face of America, so he's not going for his championship rematch. And of course, the incomparable Bill Goldberg, the toughest guy in wrestling, Mr. 22 seconds, and I'm sweating. Doesn't want his rematch anytime soon. So the value of the Universal title is very low already. So Brock Lesnar, he's got no problems. He can go home to his farm in Saskatchewan, Canada. He can go sleep. He can play with his kids, if they're kids. I don't know how old they are. And of course, he can play with his his wife, and do whatever he wants. And Paul Heyman, he's going to call him the reigning, defending, undisputed Universal Champion. And WWE's going to believe it. So, there's nothing there.
Well, maybe he just wrestles like his animals on his farm for the title.
Maybe the cow is the Universal. Maybe his cow is the Universal Champion.
We don't know. I mean, we don't know what he does on his farm.
Yeah, and because the cow may be part-time, the cow won't get drug tested. So it's all good.
Ever since there was a brand split, and you had the Universal title on Raw and the WWE World Heavyweight title on SmackDown, and I just felt that in general, splitting the title, made it valueless.
Well, that's true, but at the end of the day, they had to split the titles because, as you can see, how would they compensate for the championships being defended on pay-per-view? You have your split pay-per-views, where Raw would have their own, SmackDown would have their own, but then what happens when you got double brand pay-per-views? How do you compensate for championships? Make triple threat matches where one guy on Raw and one guy on SmackDown fight for the title? It'll die out real quick. So splitting 2 world titles is the only way they can go. But there's problems with that too.
So that's the thing. And when you have 2 world titles, and personally, I don't like that they did that. I think that the World Heavyweight title should be 1 title. And I think it devalues the title when they split it up. And when you have a case like this where Brock Lesnar never shows up, and then he wins the title at WrestleMania, and he, does what he does on the farm, and we don't see him again. And then, and then we have the Intercontinental title, and Dean Ambrose, he came on Raw and he said, well, because Brock Lesnar's not around, the Intercontinental title is now the highest title on the show.
Which is gonna be because you got the Miz going after it, which means that the title's gonna have some value versus the Universal title.
That is true. I really like where the Miz has been going, but like, should WWE honestly have Brock Lesnar win the title, and then he doesn't show up for a few months? Why can't WWE have him win the title at a pay-per-view, and then they schedule him in for maybe like a few Raws after that? He defends the title and loses it, and then he can go off and you know, hang out with his farm animals.
Hey, who knows? All we know is that Brock Lesnar is scheduled to show up on pay-per-view for WWE's new concept, WWE Great Balls of Fire. I'm 100% sure that pay-per-view is going to be changed because it just sounds really, really wrong.
So yeah, I actually just heard about that when I was talking to my other friend, and he told me the name of the pay-per-view, and I'm like, you must be joking. Like, is that honestly the name of the pay-per-view?
It is, apparently, but again, it'll be changed.
You know, so if Raw's going to call it it is a Raw pay-per-view, right?
It's a Raw pay-per-view.
So if Raw's going to call it Great Balls of Fire, is SmackDown going to call theirs Blue Balls?
No, I think they're trying to go after the big legendary song, I believe, by Johnny Cash. I could be wrong. It may not be Johnny Cash. But, yeah, it just sounds awkward for a PG wrestling show.
So, like, now that... So Brock Lesnar's gone. And I did read recently that he may be coming back for a few dates on Raw. I'm not sure what dates those are, but... I mean, he's already been gone since WrestleMania, right?
Yep.
So, you know, what is that... You know, how do you feel about the Universal title, like, not being defended? Like, first of all, do you think that that's... You know, are you happy with that title? Do you like that title?
Absolutely not. But, I mean, you can also... Some fans will also argue that Randy Orton hasn't even defended his title since WrestleMania, because apparently... I don't know how they decided not to make it for the title, but the House of Horrors match was originally for the WWE Championship, but I guess people at the creative department said can't happen. So Randy Orton hasn't defended his title, but he's going to be defending his title on next week, May 20th, so we know he's a defending champion. Brock, on the other hand, well, it's the same thing when he was the WWE World Champion. How often did he defend the title? They went 4 months without the title being defended. So they can do it again. And again, the Universal title means absolutely nothing.
Well, I think that, from what I read anyway, that WWE may be planning for Brock Lesnar to fight Braun Strowman for the Universal title at probably SummerSlam, I'm thinking.
Something like that. Either SummerSlam or the Great Balls of Fire, you know, whatever.
I can't even believe that they named it that.
Learn to believe it. It's WWE after all.
Yeah, WWE, they're one of a kind.
Yeah.
So yeah, I mean, personally, I think that they should get rid of the Universal title. I think it's a waste of, it's just a waste of time. And, and especially if they're going to be putting it on people like Brock Lesnar, who really isn't invested a whole lot in the company. You know, he shows up from time to time and he collects his full-time check, and that's about it, right? So, honestly, I don't think that they should have that title. I think that even though it may be a little more complicated, is having one title, which would be the World Heavyweight title, and let's say that they can do interpromotional matches if they want.
Well, yeah, they can, but again, how will they decide who's the contender? Because they did this back in 2002 with the undisputed WWE Championship belt. People thought, okay, 1 month Raw would get the title shot, next month SmackDown would get the title shot. But then you remember, go all the way after, I believe, King of the Ring, Triple H, the SmackDown star, got a title shot. Then the next month, Kurt Angle on The Rock got a title shot, still on SmackDown. Brock Lesnar, being on Raw, got the title shot at SummerSlam, but then Brock jumped to SmackDown, so it was a SmackDown title main event. And then it just went on and on. SmackDown got the WWE title belt. So what's Raw gonna do? They had to bring in the WCW World title belt. Oh, sorry, the World Heavyweight Championship. So back then they had 2 world champions, and everybody praised the WCW World Heavyweight Championship as the top title in the company.
That's because Triple H won it most of the time.
Well, yeah, but it has to be. Triple H has to be the top guy. You know? Brock can't be the top guy.
If usually what WWE does is they have whatever title is on Raw is the main title, right?
Yeah, which is the Universal title in this case.
And you know, like when I hate this title, and when I see it, I mean, it looks ridiculous to me.
No, it's an inverted WWE title belt. That's about it.
Yeah, and you know, my thinking is, have one title, defend it on both shows. You know, they can make it work. I don't believe in this. Somebody wins the title, disappears, and then the Intercontinental is suddenly, you know, that's the biggest title of all because Brock doesn't show up. So I think that's absolutely ridiculous. And you know, I know that Vince is like, well, you know, we don't want to give the audience too much of a good thing, so we don't want him on the show that much. So you know, I have no problem with putting him in a title match, but if he's not going to wrestle, then he shouldn't have the title for a long period of time. He should keep it for a few weeks, then he can show up, and even, I mean, I'm sure that because of Brock Lesnar, they're going to do some disqualification or some bullshit, and, you know, he'll lose the title, and then Brock will get all grumpy, and then we'll never see him for 3 months, you know, so yeah. Any concluding thoughts on that?
His name's Brock Lesnar. He can do whatever he wants. If you want to blame anybody, blame Triple H. He's the one that signed the contract.
Good old Triple H. A topic, I'm sure that's a video on its own.
This is my yard now. I don't think Roman Reigns could have made it any clearer.
I see that you've come prepared with your Roman Reigns gear there.
Everybody watching this is gonna boo me for that, but it's okay.
I'm thinking there's going to be a lot of dislikes now.
Yeah.
But you know what? We don't care about the hate, and we say whatever we want. So you're gonna hear it and like it.
And remember, it's all opinion. It doesn't mean that you're wrong and I'm right. This doesn't mean I'm right and you're wrong. It doesn't mean you're right and I'm wrong. It just means I have an opinion, and so do you. That's it.
Actually, when I say something, it's always right. Anyway,
Alrighty.
I'm just kidding. So, Roman Reigns, man, everybody hates him, eh?
I know, eh?
Everybody hates Roman Reigns. He's had a rough go. You know, I liked him in the Shield a lot, and
A lot of people did.
I felt that he was great in the Shield, and then they broke up the Shield. They all went their separate ways, and then Roman Reigns, I guess you could say, was the pick as WWE's the face of WWE, right?
Yep.
And I guess the fans got wind of that. And they didn't like that so much, and I think that also, and you'll probably go into this, is about the Royal Rumble win as well. But you know, he and I think when he first started, and maybe you can, I don't know if you'll debate me on this, but we'll see. I have to admit that when I first saw him as a singles wrestler, I wasn't 100% on board with him. You know, I felt that he was. He needed a little bit of work in the ring and on the mic and things like that, and you know, and to be completely fair, I mean, to be in that position, to be in front of that audience, to try to cut a promo, I mean, it must be nerve-wracking to do that, right?
Well, that's why they invented NXT, a place to develop that fear, to get over that fear.
Yeah, I mean, they jump into it pretty quickly in NXT, but
you know, Triple H kind of messed it up, but I'll get to that later.
When I watch Roman Reigns now, I like him. I like his style in the ring. He's not flying around and doing a lot of technical moves like a lot of the other wrestlers, but I like his style. I think he's a lot better than he used to be. I enjoy his matches. I also enjoy the fact that, even though that he's so hated, and maybe joy's not the right word, but maybe that I respect him because he's so hated, and then he goes out working every day, unlike Brock Lesnar, who doesn't do fuck all.
We're back over there.
Yeah, we're back at Brock.
So.
Where Roman Reigns shows up every night. I don't know where he is now. Maybe you can tell me, but sure, he's injured. I actually heard that he failed a drug test, but maybe I'm reading the wrong report. But anyway, I really like what he's doing right now. I respect him for going out there, working full time, even though that everybody hates him. I think that fans are overreacting quite a bit with that sort of thing. But you've always been an advocate of Roman Reigns.
Oh, yeah, Roman Reigns.
What do you think?
Oh yeah, Roman Reigns is great. You got to remember, when he first started, people liked him. Well, that's because of the Shield. That's the only way he can get over. But as he went on his own, his mic skills weren't that great. His mic skills aren't that, but, what the fans are looking for, nobody even knows. They're just looking for energy and emphasis, but he still provides a difference in promo making, so that's why he's good. The whole situation with him getting booed so bad has to do with the Royal Rumble 2015.
So what happened at the Royal Rumble? You tell us.
Well, everybody's upset. Well, everybody was upset that some guy with a big beard, Daniel Bryan, got eliminated early. Now that is a cry that to me is an IWC's crybaby version of, well, we want Daniel Bryan to win. That's what I got out of it. But Roman Reigns had to suffer ever since. Oh, because Vince is making him the top guy. Well, you need a top guy. You need a top guy. You need a franchise that's going to carry the company outside of media, right? You can't have a top guy who doesn't really give a shit about going to media outlets. But maybe there are people who do care, but we don't know. But they want Roman Reigns because he's a father. He can relate to fathers. He's a husband. He can relate to husbands. And he's got kids, so he can relate to kids. That's just how it works. Plus, he's a very attractive-looking man. And women go nuts for that. I understand majority of WWE and wrestling fans in general are majority men. But, come on, give him a chance. If you don't like him, boo him. But if he becomes heel, don't cheer him. That's just simple as that.
I think the fans, they want somebody to hate. It was Cena first, right? And then it's Roman Reigns now. And I do actually think that because they know that Roman Reigns is the handpicked guy, that they're a little bit more judgmental on him because of that. And, and for some reason, they won't let go of the fact that when he first started, he was a little rough. He was a little rough. It took him a little bit of time to find himself. But, I mean, who isn't? Who isn't in any job? You know what I mean? I mean, it takes a little bit of time to find yourself. And I think it's ridiculous that fans are holding this against him.
100%, but, they're going to do it. I mean, it's not just that. I mean, it's the fact that he's the guy. Now, he's the guy that apparently retired The Undertaker. If he's retired, nobody knows. But based on what he did at WrestleMania, he seems like he's retired. But I digress. We don't know. What you don't know, you can't really say, right? But people are going to hold that against him. It's not even that. Even before that, they hated him because of his mic skills, because of that. But he's improved along the ways. Monday Night Raw after WrestleMania was his best night ever. All he said, 4 words, "This is my yard now."
This is my yard now.
That one line made him look epic. And this rivalry with Braun Strowman, it's making him look even better. But that's just my opinion. You have a different one. You like the fact that Braun Strowman's killing him? That's great. I like the fact that he's coming back. Braun Strowman's good, but, Reigns, He's going to be a star. If you don't like it, go watch something else.
There was actually a petition about
the petition.
What was that petition about?
About Roman Reigns' vest. This was like late 2016 somewhere. I read about it. It's the funniest thing is a fan wants to write a petition over because the vest was protective. It gives him a hidden advantage. It is just a vest. Now I agree that Roman Reigns needs a wardrobe change because he still looks like that generic Shield member. It's like he's the type of character that's like, well, the Shield's gone, but I wanna believe that the Shield is still around. It's like a child, like a child, like, no, I want Shield. I want to be in Shield. That's it. But really, he needs a wardrobe change. I don't know what. I mean, if you take the vest off, women are gonna melt their pants, right? So you can't do that, but they can figure something out. That after all, WWE is the be-all, end-all, so they got to be very creative.
I think you just answered why he doesn't take his vest off. Because the women all melt in their pants.
Well, there you go.
I actually, I read some rumors that the reason why I mean, it's probably all bullshit, but he doesn't take his vest off because he's got scars on his chest. The other one is that he has some type of growth, like a deformation on his chest, and that's why he wears it, because it supports him or something like that.
Well, if people go to his early days in NXT, he was the generic no shirt and trunks type character. So
I remember that.
I don't know what truth is there, but who knows?
Yeah, I remember that. I think I saw a video of that.
Yeah.
So, will the fans ever forgive Roman Reigns for the Royal Rumble?
No. As simple as that. I mean, if you do, just comment on the, just comment, but I doubt you gonna forgive him for eliminating Daniel Bryan. I mean, if he eliminated John Cena early, you would have gone nuts, but, you know.
There was a report that I read, and honestly, I don't know if this was made up or not, but something about him saving some kittens or something.
Oh,
and
I don't know anything about that. I just heard that even if Roman Reigns saved a basket of kittens, you're still gonna boo him.
Yeah, whatever. I don't know if it was made up or not, but apparently there was some electrical accident that happened, and you know what? It sounds like bullshit to me. What are kittens doing like near some technology that? Like, I don't know, like, it doesn't make sense.
Well, they're cats. If cats get stuck on trees, then they might get stuck on electrical poles. Who knows?
So, yeah, maybe it was just a joke.
Well, who knows? Who cares? It's, I don't really think we care too much about the outside of WWE. Maybe you do, but if you're intrigued, go find out and let us know.
Well, in this show, we will be talking about other wrestling organizations and news outside of WWE, so if you don't learn it on the internet, then you'll definitely learn it here.
Hopefully.
What do you see the future of Roman Reigns? Like, do you think that he's going to be like that John Cena type? You know, he will be right in the front of the ongoing WWE train. He'll be leading the way. He'll be doing the interviews. He'll probably be getting into movies and all that type of thing. He'll probably end up being, 15-time WWE champion eventually.
I doubt that. I doubt he'll be going to Cena's record because if you remember, the last time he was heavyweight champion was back in 2016 when he lost it to Seth Rollins at Money in the Bank. And ever since then, he hasn't won a championship since. Oh, no, wait, the United States Championship, but it's the United States Championship.
Is Cena tied with Ric Flair right now? What is he? Is he 15-time?
Apparently, he's considered a 16-time champion.
16-time.
But, well, it's just my opinion, but the WWE title is the world title, and he's only won that 13 times. I don't know, the other 3 titles is that WCW belt, so they count that as well, so that's why he's a 16-time champion. But in my opinion, he's still 13-time. But the only way he won that is through eat, sleep, rematch, and repeat. That's all it took. He loses the title, he gets a rematch, gets low blowed, gets another rematch. Somebody interferes, gets another rematch. That's how he's won 16 world titles. So just remember that.
Yeah, and of course WWE is going to merge the WCW title, and he's won NWA, right?
Who? Cena?
No, Ric Flair.
Yeah, Ric Flair's been NWA champion, WCW champion, 2-time WWE champion.
Is that combining all of them? 16 times?
Yep.
All the championships together?
Yeah, 14 times in the NWA WCW reign and 2 WWE title reigns. That's how he's a 16-time heavyweight champion. But that's fair because Ric Flair won the company's top title. Not like Cena who's only won the top title 13 times, but because the other belt counts as a world championship when it really doesn't, he won that 3 times. So that's why he's 16.
But if Ric Flair won the TNA World title, they wouldn't count that.
Well, no shit, because it's TNA. They don't want to ignore. Well, TNA does exist, but it only exists when you buy your $9.99 in the States, $11.99 in Canada WWE Network. Then yeah, TNA exists, but other than that, it doesn't exist.
So maybe in the next 5 years, 3 to 5 years, how many times do you think Roman Reigns will be the WWE World title? I guess if you're including the Universal title,
if you're including the Universal title as a world title, which technically it's not, because the universe is not the world is the world, the universe is everything else, and let's face it, only the planet Earth is watching wrestling. I don't know if Mars has USA Network or not. Maybe USA did a deal with Mars and they got the USA Network there. So maybe the Universal title will count one day. But until scientists prove otherwise, Universal title to me means nothing. But WWE's going to count it anyway. So I see Roman Reigns winning the Universal title at least 2 or 3 times within the next 5 years. That as much as I see. Because if they plan to do Brock Lesnar and Roman Reigns at WrestleMania 34, if they're also saying Cena and Reigns, we don't know. Of course, that's WrestleMania 34. We don't care. They'll change it 100 million times, or they'll plan it before then, and they'll tell you, that this is going to happen, like they did about Undertaker and Cena, like every freaking year, and Goldberg coming back every freaking year, and it never happened until nobody was talking about it. But yeah, I see Roman Reigns winning 2 or 3 Universal titles. And if by then the WWE title comes to Raw, Universal goes to SmackDown, then Roman Reigns will win another maybe 1 or 2 titles for the WWE belt.
Yeah, I'm kind of on the same page as that. He's already there. He's already the guy. And I think that he's going to be basically the top guy going forward.
Exactly. And whether you cheer him or boo him, still the guy you're talking about.
He's the one working full time, and he's showing up every week. So, other than
a lot of people are working full time. I mean, most people are working full time. They work for their salary, but they also have to work for Bill Goldberg's, Brock Lesnar's, The Rock's salary. Because we know that The Rock gets a small salary from WWE.
While we're on the topic of Roman Reigns, do you think that Roman Reigns should turn heel because he's hated so much?
Well, he's already heel. Like, what are you gonna do? What do you mean by turning heel?
But he's in between. He's not a babyface. He's not a heel. He's in the middle.
Well, yeah, it works. Like you eat an Oreo cookie. What are you going for first? The cream, right? And then you eat the cookie later. That's just the way it is, right? You always focus on the middle. You never focus on the front and back. You always want the middle, like an Oreo cookie.
Sound advice. Sound advice.
So if he turns heel, like what are they gonna do? He's gonna take out. Yeah, he'll be able to go after Finn Balor in a rivalry. He'll be able to go after Seth Rollins in a rivalry. Dean Ambrose in a rivalry. So many guys in a rivalry. But if he goes heel and you like it, you're gonna cheer for him. So then it's like, well, what are you gonna do? if he's in the middle, let it be. You know, let him be in the middle. Let him be natural in the middle, where fans like him and fans hate him. And then it works to your advantage, because then you can have rivalries with Baylor, you can have rivalries with Rollins, you can have the Strowman rivalry. The Miz, you know, Roman Reigns and The Miz, well, I don't know how well that'll go, but it will go because The Miz will be carrying the rivalry effort. Therefore, Miz will become a star.
Well, I
already is a star, but just saying.
I really like what he's done with his gimmick so far. The Miz, I think he's been great. Especially he did some. This was a while back. So Miz did a promo on Talking Smack where he was sort of in this argument with, or he was bashing Daniel Bryan. And when I saw that video, it seemed like it was real. I mean, it wasn't real, but I really liked the way he did that promo, and I think that The Miz has come a long way for his character.
I could sprout giant wings right now, and I could fly out of this building right now. I could sprout antlers out of my head right now. JBL could spontaneously combust right now.
Yeah, that would be great. That would be terrible for commentators.
I read a recent report that WWE thinks that Dean Ambrose's character is sort of getting boring, and that basically that he's not building his character. There's no character development going on with that, and that he's sort of becoming stale.
Yeah.
You know what? I like his, he's sort of this off-the-cuff crazy guy. I think that he was doing a lot more of that in the past, and maybe he's gotten kind of away from that. But I don't know. I mean, what do you think? Do you think that do you think he's boring?
Well, let's acknowledge the first part where WWE is reporting it. I think that's bullshit. Because if WWE Creative has a problem with it, they can always change it. Now, to answer your question, I don't think he's boring, per se. It's just, he's a lunatic fringe. So you're going to get some comedy moments, you're going to get some serious moments. That's what a lunatic fringe does. It's refreshing. Do I like it that much? Not really, but it doesn't mean that it's not boring. It brings a little interest, but, it is what it is. So, what are you going to do?
I personally don't have a problem with Dean Ambrose. I think that he could go a little bit more into that craziness, maybe. I hate to say this because it's probably going to spark another argument, but he could be a broken Dean Ambrose. But anyway, we'll leave that for another time.
Yeah.
We
don't want too many people broken.
Yeah. So I don't personally have a problem with him. I think though that he could go a little bit, maybe be a little bit more crazier and have a little more skits. I mean, they don't. I find that they don't. There's not a lot now. There's not a lot of eccentric characters. So like the Undertaker or Bray Wyatt. There's not a lot of those guys around. It's a lot more. Just you're a normal wrestler, and Daniel Bryan or The Miz or something like that. You're just a guy there. There's no gimmick really. Miz has a bit of a gimmick, but there's not a lot of those type of characters really out there. So anyway, I think that Dean Ambrose is fun the way he is.
Oh yeah, there's nothing wrong with Ambrose, but it's WWE, it's PG. They gotta find that balance, right? Once they find the balance, Dean Ambrose will be a star in no time. But it's up to WWE Creative to make it work.
This is about all the women in this ring, the superstars in this ring, who literally collectively over the years made this happen, because this is the future.
Since the PG era, the women's division has changed quite a bit. We had, in the past, we had, it was very sexualized, and they're all half naked and doing little undressing competitions, and and things like
sucked,
that.
Yeah.
Which was nice to look at, but there really wasn't a lot of good wrestling going on. And when the PG era came in, it seemed to open the door for women like for Becky Lynch and Alexa Bliss and
Bayley, Sasha Banks, and of course the top female athlete, Charlotte Flair.
And I feel that if it was a PG-13 or whatever the Attitude Era was rated, PG-14, I guess.
That didn't come in until 2000.
I don't think that wrestlers like Bayley or Charlotte would really lasted long there without WWE turning them into sexual objects. And I mean, obviously we can the debate about PG versus PG-13, that can happen another time, but like, I think one of the good things that the PG era did was to open the door for these women, and I remember, and I think we can all agree on this, is unfortunately in the past when we were watching a women's match, that was sort of the bathroom break, right? For me, anyways.
I only took bathroom breaks when I needed them, not when a specific match was on.
Sure you did. But like when I remember when I used to watch pay-per-views or any show really, and you see everybody walking up the stairs whenever there's a women's match, and I'm actually very happy with the women's division that WWE has built. I enjoy the matches. I enjoy watching Charlotte. I even know that they're, she's the favorite because she's Ric Flair's daughter, but I enjoy watching her. I enjoy watching Bayley and Alexa Bliss and Sasha Banks. I enjoy it. They're good matches. They put on great matches, in my opinion. And yeah, what do you think?
Well, they're the ones doing great, but they're the only ones who are allowed to do great. I mean, there's still problems, Like, you're looking at Natalya, who's been veteran in that company for over 10 years now. Oh, where does she go? I mean, every time she deserves a title shot, somebody else gets it. So, I mean, she's gotten title shots, but nothing majorly recently. Now they're doing this welcoming committee, and a lot of people aren't happy about that. But I kind of like it because if you do, people are arguing, they should just do 3 separate storylines, but they don't have the television time to do it because SmackDown's only 2 hours. That's the number of the day. The fact is, if they don't do the way they're doing on the SmackDown division, having them all morph together, then a lot of people ain't going to have TV time. Eventually, Charlotte's going to win that SmackDown Women's Championship because that's the way it's going to go because, only the people who are on the new NXT is allowed to be stars. That's what I've noticed, but I could be wrong. Because they're going to argue, well, Naomi won the championship. Yeah, but that's a once-in-a-lifetime thing. What about people like Alicia Fox, who hasn't won a championship in over, 5-6 years now? What about Emma, who was in the NXT, but she's nowhere to be found. I know she's got a recent injury again, so she's going to be out of action for a couple of months. But if she comes back, is that going to give her rewards for a championship? Or is it just going to be, Triple H's NXT is whoever was the most dominant female on Triple H's NXT is going to get the title shot? Well, then they've still got political problems. But the division is doing well, in my opinion. It's doing well, but it's political. That's about it.
Most of the women wrestlers have come from NXT. I don't remember, I can't think of any wrestler right now that wasn't on NXT. Can you? Recent times.
Recent times. I mean, everybody who's won a championship recently has been on NXT. Roman Reigns was on NXT, won a championship. Seth Rollins, the first NXT champion. Ambrose was on NXT for a little while. You got Nakamura, who comes from NXT, Samoa Joe from NXT. I mean, AJ Styles came straight from New Japan. New Japan. Kevin Owens wins NXT championship, comes up in the main roster. Sami Zayn. there hasn't been anybody who's been recently successful that hasn't come from NXT. I mean, they neglect, people like I said, people like Emma, even Axel, they neglect real bad, even though he was in one episode of NXT.
What do you think about Emma's new gimmick? Because she used to be this, I don't know, wasn't she like a ditz or something? Like she just wasn't doing much of anything, and now she's this badass.
Yeah.
She's got a chip on her shoulder.
It works out if you actually book things correctly. But now you got her on the Raw brand, and you brought in Alexa Bliss and Mickie James. So she's gonna be on the sidelines until they decide to push her real far. But again, she's injured, so she won't be getting anywhere for a little bit. So hope for the best. She'll be back, and her gimmick is in regards to the gimmick is pretty good. It's better than a lot of gimmicks that they got so far.
So who do you think right now with Raw and SmackDown, who do you think is maybe the top 2 women's wrestlers right now?
That's obviously the top 2 is going to be Alexa Bliss and Charlotte Flair.
Yeah?
Because, well, 2-time SmackDown Women's Champion and a current Raw Women's Champion, and then you got a 4-time Raw Women's Champion, Divas Champion, and NXT Women's Champion. So you got 7 world titles right there, and Alexa Bliss has got 3, if you count those as world championships. I would, but IWC has their opinions. So, yeah. So the top 2 is, in my opinion, it's Alexa Bliss and Charlotte Flair. They've been able to do more and achieve more in the last year than, well, anybody else, really.
Yeah, I'd have to agree. And I think, I heard that Alexa Bliss used to be a cheerleader or something, and she jumped into wrestling, almost right away.
Oh, then that's great. I mean, that's great that they gave her the big push.
It's good for her.
The state of the women's division is good, but there needs to be some emphasis over there. I mean, they're getting there, but once they get that emphasis in the rivalries, it works. It's not this whole friendship, itty-bitty thing, but real rivalries, like you see in the males division. There's who wants to be the best type character, not this, we were friends and blah, 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 blah,
It's always the friends or, the romantic triangle.
Yeah.
Someone's cheating on somebody.
Yeah.
Sort of thing. Real life gimmick with Triple H and China, but that's a different topic.
We ain't going there for a while.
For a while, yeah. So yeah, I agree with you. I think Charlotte Flair and Alexa Bliss are at the top of their game. Definitely the top women's wrestlers in WWE. And I would love to see those 2 fight. I'd like to see that match.
It'll happen eventually.
It will happen.
Hopefully we get it hopefully they decide to do it at Survivor Series.
I just have to throw this in because just to see your reaction. What do you think about a women's tag team title? Do you think that would be good?
There's a lot to go into a tag team division because you actually have to hire women that are tag teams. Anything is achievable in wrestling because TNA did it. They did the Knockouts Tag Team Championships. The problem is they decided to fall back on it. You can do it, but again, you have to emphasize on it. If you're just going to we're going to bring a tag team women's division to be okay, well, more women can be champions, it's not going to work out. You're better off keeping the 2 championships for now. Until you decide you want to take it seriously or you're just going to do what they did with the Divas Championship and just have a belt for people to wear. And you can't do that. Will it happen? Yes. Will it be soon? No, because it's going to take a long time to make that a reality.
Well, wouldn't you have to have a pretty decent roster of women?
Well, yeah,
because there's not there's already, I don't know exactly how many women wrestlers there are, but it's a small roster, and you have some on SmackDown, you have some on Raw, and there's some that are competing for the title, the women's title. So by the time you're spreading them out, And then how many tag teams do you have? Like, can you make? You know, you can't have a tournament because there's not enough women. You know, maybe you can have a small tournament. I don't know.
Well, they can do a tournament. Well, because in the summer they're planning to do a women's tournament, and they're bringing women from outside of the WWE to come in.
Okay, well
that's the only way you're going to do it. But WWE has to be smart enough to scout a lot of talent to work as tag teams. Now there are tag teams in the women's division in the Indies that you can bring in, but then again, it becomes the fact that WWE's rating the independent scene when really in reality everybody wants to go to WWE, and that's the only opportunity they'll have. But that's WWE's got to strategize that. You can't just bring in all these random women and be like, okay, you two tag team, and that's it. You can do it. It may work. It may not work. If it doesn't work, then the whole tag team division will fail if you don't do it properly.
Well, you may have better insight on this, but has there ever been a woman's tag team in general? I mean, obviously not for a title, but like, has there ever been a women's tag team?
Well, there are a few. I mean, WWE did it back in the day.
I remember seeing that.
That was like in the 1970s, 1980s, around there that they did the women's tag team titles. They had them.
Yeah.
But nowadays when they downsize the women's division, you can't really do a lot. But in the Indies right now, there are a few. Some are making themselves a tag team. I mean, you had in TNA, for example, you had the Beautiful People, who were a tag team.
That's true.
You had Rosita and Sarita, who were part of Mexi America.
But that's TNA.
No, I know.
It's not WWE.
But WWE, WWE only has what? The Bella Twins?
The Bella Twins. That's
it.
The only thing I can think of.
I mean, they can make tag teams. I mean, obviously, if they were to bring a tag team women's division, they could have Emma and Dana Brooke. That would help a lot, but they're going in a feud. It's hard. I mean, it's hard to do because there's not enough. You got to make a lot of teams. Like Natalya and Carmella could be a team, obviously, because they're doing their little welcome committee. And what does Tamina do? I don't know, but there's a lot. There's a lot to it, and creative has to come up with the right tools. So it's not going to happen right away, but it may happen if they want to. But if they're just going to make belts so people can have belts, then it's not going to work out.
If we have all these titles in there, if they decide to bring the tag team titles in for the women and that sort of thing, and like, to me, and I have no problem with the women's title, the women's world heavyweight title. What do you think about intergender matches? What do you think about just for example, we had China in the Royal Rumble. I know that you probably remember better than me, but I know that China had fought a male
so many times. She beat Jeff Jarrett for the Intercontinental Championship. Just remember that.
Is she really?
Yeah.
Wow. And who was it? Beth Phoenix?
Yeah, she entered the Rumble.
She entered the Rumble. She didn't fight a male though.
Oh yeah, she eliminated Great Khali.
Well, I don't know. Does he really count?
But the benefit is Khali got the better end of the package by getting the kiss. That's about it. But who wants to see that, right?
Yeah, I missed that. So you know what? I think that they should make it happen. But I understand that some of the women, because of their body size, it's hard to do that, and also there's some, I guess, appropriate touching, sort of. There's too many accidents can happen, I guess you could say, when you're wrestling with women.
It's not even that. I mean, that's true. I mean, there's going to be a lot of touchy and grabby, but I mean, that's what you like, right? No, you want to see male and women have competitions, right? That's fine. But you got to look at it. I mean, you got wrestlers who are more intense, and you got wrestlers who are calm. Like, would you like to see Roman Reigns versus Alexa Bliss? Just think about that.
I would.
Or how about Braun Strowman versus Bayley? Would you like to see that? It's not going to go well.
Well, I don't think that they would do that. type of match. I think it would be more like
kind of have to bring interest.
I think it would be more like Dolph Ziggler versus Bayley, or Dolph Ziggler versus Alexa Bliss. I think it would be they would match up a woman's wrestler roughly the same, near the same size or weight of a male wrestler.
But then but the problem is in those cases the storyline becomes so petty and childish. So
In what way?
In what way?
Yeah.
Simple. Like the storyline will be very terrible. It'll just be like this whole, Dolph Ziggler wants to go out with a chick, and the chick doesn't want to go out with him, or the chick is repulsed by Dolph Ziggler. They'll do stuff like that, in that case. I mean, it's not like it's not like with China, because she matches the muscle as a average male, so it worked out, right? Not a lot of people average out. I mean, it's possible, but honestly, I don't really want to see it. I'd rather it's like NHL and NBA. It's like, they have their own league. They should like the NHL, the female hockey league. Should they be on TV? Absolutely. I'm not saying they don't deserve to be on TV. Put them on TV. But that's up to them. But WWE, they've managed to give women the opportunity to fight matches on the same show as the male. Not like everywhere, like most companies do that. Yeah, you have your intergender matches, but like I've seen them in the indie shows. Not a lot of them are not that epic. It does nothing. Like, I've seen them in the indies. They don't do much for me.
Well, other than, them doing, she could say, sexist storylines, in terms of the wrestling match, like, are you saying that if they have an actual match, that because of is it because of the body size that it's going to be basically going to be really awkward to watch?
It's going to be awkward to watch, and it depends on how much a woman can do. A lot of women still can't really do a lot. They're doing stuff, but not a lot compared to what you see in a male's match. They're getting there, but I just think intergender matches are just something that's going to be off the table. But again, I could be wrong.
But if it was going to happen, and they were WWE serious about it, and they were, it wasn't going to end up being a joke, and it was actually a compelling match, what two wrestlers would you like to see, female and a male?
It's got to be Roman Reigns and Charlotte Flair. That's it. That's all I got.
You know what?
That's going to sound a little political, but
I actually like the sound of that.
That's as close as you're going to get to a male versus female match.
I like the sound of that. Or Charlotte Flair versus John Cena.
Yeah, let's not go there.
Let's not go there?
Yeah,
okay.
I don't think we want to see John Cena kick out the two against Charlotte Flair, because, no offense, but Charlotte Flair is a little better than Cena.
Ooh. Wow.
That's for sure.
Okay. I have to agree.
Praying the fact that they end up here on SmackDown Live. Because we have all together created the land of opportunity.
What is WWE doing right? And what are they fucking up on?
Well, what they're doing right is actually putting stars that you want on TV. You want Sami Zayn, you want Kevin Owens, you want Nakamura, you want Ziggler, you want, Strowman, you want all these guys. They're being put on TV. At least they're doing that. I mean, back in the day when you wanted Axel on TV, they never put him on TV. At least majority of the stars you want right now are still on TV. That's what I'll give WWE credit for. And the fact that WWE, is able to attract their fan base. And they do a real good job on that. They get support outside of the company, with people like ESPN and ABC, the Today Show on NBC. WWE is doing right in that aspect, that they can attract the fans, get the fans on them, and get outside media to cover them. That's what they're doing right. Because that's what you need in a major television company. Even the indies, if you get exposure like that, if you get good exposure, like Alpha One's got billboards and bus signs now, you're doing great.
Yeah, I'd have to agree with that. Like the fact that they're now pushing new stars. I mean, most of them are coming out of NXT, but
the homegrown talent over there.
Yeah, you know, I think it's great that they're pushing new stars. I mean, they have to. Otherwise, the product's going to become stale. And I think they're doing great on that front. It's a decent show. It could be a lot better, actually.
A lot of things could be.
I think that the programming itself is okay. Like it's a passable program. Like you'll watch it and you'll enjoy it, but it's not it's not like you're watching in the Attitude Era. You're not compelled. And actually, Steve Austin was talking about this, and he was I can't remember who he's interviewing, but I think it was Vince Russo.
What?
So Vince Russo had said that, and I agree with him on this, is when you're watching the show, you want to see two people passionately want to fight. And there has to be something in the end. Like they have to be in it to win it, basically. There has to be some something to fight for, and he felt that he doesn't feel like that when he watches the show. He feels like it's sort of, it's kind of dull, and they kind of win here and there. No one's passionate about doing anything. It's
that's why that's why, like I said before, that's why we got The Miz, who's actually passionate about making the Intercontinental Championship great. That's one of the best storylines going today, is the fact that he actually wants to bring prestige to the title. A lot of people win the Intercontinental title. It's like, oh, well, that's great. My idol has won it, so that's why I got it. But Miz actually desperately wants to win the Intercontinental title. Mm-hmm. He's not like everybody else who's concerned about that Universal Championship. He knows it. He knows he'll win it one day, but right now it's a joke, and he knows it's a joke right now, so he's not occupied with it.
Yeah,
so that's why you got somebody like that.
So WWE's basically, they have new talent coming in. I mean, they're firing at regular pay-per-views. They have, their WWE Network is great. Actually, I have it. It looks like you have something to say about that, but product-wise, pushing, like marketing the products, I think they're doing a good job with that. And I think that there's a few things that they could be doing better, and we'll get into that in a second. But I think overall, with superstars, marketing their product, having enough product to put out there, I think they're doing great on that. And also reaching out to the new audiences and things like that. Maybe at the expense of others, apparently, in Britain. But I know that I had read that some independent British wrestling companies were, I guess, intimidated by WWE coming in and taking away their audience.
Rather than say that, because again, bro, there are no characters, there are no storylines. I don't believe the fights are real. You've changed professional wrestling, and I'm not the only one to see it. Monday night, we've gone from 10 million people viewing wrestling to 3 million people.
What are some of the things that WWE is just totally fucking up right now?
Basically, their identity. The problem is like, now people are going to be like, oh, it's great and this and that. I'm not bashing on the show. I'm just bashing on the concept, and it's NXT. I'm not bashing on the show. It's just the concept of NXT. Nobody knows what it is. It's this brand that's making the stars so that they can go to the main roster. But what it does is it makes the main roster look really, really bad, in my opinion, because now you got stars just coming from NXT and then they're carrying the show. And then you got guys who've been in the main roster for maybe 10 plus years, and now they're they're scrambling to figure out what's going on. I mean, you look at Jack Swagger. Before NXT, before the NXT show became epic, he was World Heavyweight Champion. He was going for the World Heavyweight Championship. I mean, he's never won he's never won an actual WWE Championship, world title belt. I mean, he won that WCW one, but still, at least they were putting him in the picture of a championship belt. And then after a while, once the NXT movement comes along, he's just scrambling to figure out what to do. So that's the problem. It kills the main roster. It kills the main roster stars who have been in the old development program called FCW. And I've noticed that they've gotten rid of a lot of those stars. I mean, how do you get rid of Aaron Rex or Damian Sandow when people were begging for it? But, you know, and then people got upset when he went to TNA. That's pretty sad. But, you know, you liked him in WWE, but you don't like him in TNA. That means you're just, you know, it's like you got the toy, you got this old toy that you never use, but you know when your mommy says get rid of it, and you're like, no, I want to keep it. That's what you're doing. But now you got people from NXT coming up, and you're going nuts for it. So now there are more stars from the main roster that's been there for 10 plus years that are wondering, where do I go moving forward? And Triple H, being Triple H, doesn't have an answer to that, even though he's Executive Vice President Talent Relations, which means that's his job to give direction for it. Yeah, you've got creative who's giving you the creativity, but Talent Relations is at the end of the day developing the talent. So that's what's wrong with the WWE right now, is that this show is good, but it's causing the other two shows to be like, where do the talent go? Is it just bring up the NXT stars and that's it? Or is it you got to mix everything up? That's the question. This is the brand that brings new stars to light, that they are the future of the WWE. But it has advanced so far that they're doing touring shows, they're doing their own specials, they're doing everything. I mean, of course, it's always called NXT TakeOver in whatever city they're in. But it's become so epic that where does it tie? You know, is it a development show, or is it a proving grounds, or is it its own show? It's all three in one. So there's a problem there. Because once they go up to the main roster, what does that mean for the main roster stars who were never on this NXT? They're on the other NXT, the game show. But where do they go? Are they going to just bring all the NXT stars to the front table and that's it? Because that's what it looks like. I mean, all the NXT stars are getting the main events now. All the NXT stars are getting these storylines, and there are a few stars that's been around for 10 years that are getting the spotlight, but not by much. I mean, how many times are we going to have Dolph Ziggler's near chance moment come to life and then comes crashing down? You know. Meanwhile, you know, Nakamura comes in and he's the big thing, and then he gets the title in like 6 months. You know it's going to happen. So it does affect the main roster. It makes the main roster go up, but at the same time there's going to be talent that goes down. And then it's pretty much the talent who are never given the opportunity because that said talent development guy didn't really care.
So you're saying that it's NXT's fault that Dolph Ziggler is not in the main event?
Absolutely. Because you want those NXT stars to be the main event on pay-per-view. So he has to take the back seat.
So are you you're 100% blaming NXT?
Not 100%.
For that.
Not 100%. I'd say about 90% of it. 10% is the lack of emphasis that's wrong with WWE, but I'm going to say 90% is NXT. I know you're going to be. I know people out there are going to be like, oh no, you can't say that. NXT is so great. Again, I'm not saying anything bad about the show. I'm just talking about the concept of the program.
Okay, so what about the fact that, I mean, I know you said that since the stars coming from NXT into the main programs, there's the older wrestlers like Dolph Ziggler, you're saying are kind of getting pushed aside, right?
Exactly.
I don't know. I mean, I think that that's not really NXT's fault.
Give it a shot right now. Come on. Take your best
best shot. Come on. Take your best shot. Take it. I'll drop you where you stand. You'll never drop me.
I think, first of all,
It's more Triple H, but
I
it's
think
NXT.
like most of the wrestlers that are coming up now are from NXT.
Yeah.
Right? So NXT, you know, you have your issues with NXT, and but I don't know. I mean, like, do you agree or disagree that the wrestlers coming out of NXT are good wrestlers and they benefited Raw and SmackDown?
Oh, that's true, but again, I mean, you got to remember most of this talent didn't get their talent from NXT. They got their talents outside of NXT, outside of WWE, and they're called the homegrown talent of today for the future of tomorrow. I mean, if you're gonna say Samoa Joe is a star of today and then the future for tomorrow, then you're just an idiot. He should have been straight up to the main roster just like that. I mean, he chose to go into NXT. That's great for him. If he chooses it, that's great. That means that the product is going to get better if they choose it. But that's the key. You have to choose to go. Not, oh, you have to come here and then prove yourself. If it's a proving ground, if it's a proving ground, then it should be for talent that don't really get to shine. But like, you got Peyton Royce and Billy Kay. It gives them an opportunity to learn over there. But then if you're bringing in stars that are big, like Nakamura, the biggest, one of the top stars in New Japan, if you're going to put him on NXT first, that means you're saying that he needs time to prove that he's a star, even though he's already been a star and the fans prove it.
So you're suggesting that WWE takes these bigger stars
and puts
them in NXT for the illusion that WWE has, created these stars or brought, or somehow have made them into a WWE original or something like that. Is that what you're suggesting? So that's mainly the reason why you don't like NXT?
Well, the reason why I don't like NXT itself is because it's a complete rip-off of TNA. From the arena to the crowd size to everything. And you're happy about that. They copy how many TV tapings they do. TNA does 9 tapings in a month, so does the NXT. But you don't complain about when NXT does it, but you complain about when TNA does it. That's why I don't like NXT, because it rips off that. They ripped off production that they've done, even promo packages, they've ripped off a few. Like TNA decides instead of backstage interviewers, they do the TMZ style interview. WWE rips that off and everybody says it's great. Some people actually know that they're ripping off TNA, but yeah.
I do agree that NXT basically a rip off of TNA. Like you said, right down to every little detail, pretty much. I do agree with you on that. I think that is pretty much what they're doing. I don't think that they should have to go through NXT to jump to the main roster. I think that there is a place for developmental. I think that they have to. I mean, it's fine that they've had experience in the indies and things like that, but I do think that they need a little bit more prep before they're on TV.
Well, yeah, but that's like maybe a month or two in the NXT brand, and then they move on up.
Yeah,
you can't just be like, okay, let's stay here for you're a big name star. You already know how to attract fans. Just go down to NXT and get paid very little to do so much, and that's what it is.
Yeah.
When a guy who runs the place can pay you less, pay you in developmental money, and you're told to make it so big, there's no point.
Isn't it sort of like commission? Because if they're popular and they're really over with the crowd, then they get paid more, I guess.
Oh, I believe from the rumor sites and according to the pay grade, their salary rate is low, but they can make money off of their T-shirt sales. Whether that's true or not, I don't know. But obviously, they're paid as a developmental superstar, even though they're being forced to do big things. which means that the WWE part of it has to pay everything. You know, it's not like Triple H took his own money and put it into the NXT brand. He just said, "Hey, Pops, give me some money for NXT. Give me NXT, pay for everything, and I'll run it." You know, and then, you know, everything good is Triple H, everything bad is Vince. You know, that's the narrative.
Yeah.
Which is not true.
Well, you know, like you said about ripping off TNA, I think that since 2002, yeah. Obviously, WWE wants to take over everything. And I don't know. Obviously, there's a discussion for another time about WWE buying out TNA, but
we know the story there.
Yeah. So I think that NXT is merely to steal TNA's audience, to have, you know, a little TNA in WWE and everybody can flock to see that and that type of thing. I think it's just WWE trying to put TNA out of business and that sort of thing. And I mean, like, I think that personally, if they were going to do that, they should just offer to buy TNA. Maybe TNA's not going to go for that, but I think if they want to put them out of business, they should just buy the company. But yeah, I think that's basically what NXT is. I like the talent that's on NXT. You know, I agree with you on some points about the way NXT is run and that sort of thing. But other than that, I enjoy watching the talent on NXT. So,
well, again, I've watched a few.
He doesn't have the WWE network.
Well, yeah, but
he has the TNA network.
I've seen clips here and there of, you know, back in the Sasha Banks, Charlotte Flair era. You know, it was all right, but again, the whole concept was just, oh well, we're not going to mention TNA, but we're going to give you some TNA. So that was about it. But you know, I could care less. I mean, they got stars I want to see, like Bobby Roode and Eric Young. Those guys are. I already know those guys are going to do well over there because they did well in TNA. You know, so it is what it is. But I could care less about watching it.
So other than NXT, what other areas do you think that WWE needs to work on? And
their World Heavyweight Championship picture. Their emphasis on the World Championship, like we've talked about Brock Lesnar. We've already gone through that, so we're not going to go through that again. But all I'm going to say is Brock doesn't defend his title. And now you look at the WWE World Heavyweight Championship picture. You got a guy like Randy Orton, who seems so generic at this point. He looks like he's very unmotivated to even be on the show in the first place. So you got a champion there who really could care two shits about who he fights. Now I'm hoping that this whole Rusev wanting to go for the heavyweight title thing happens. I mean, I'm not a huge fan of it, but you know, it's better than nothing. You know, I mean, Jinder Mahal, he's going for the title, which is great. A lot of people don't like it, but that's their problem. You know, I mean, whether he's on steroids or not, we don't know. He says that he's been tested. If he's been tested every year, he says he's always come back negative.
Well, did you hear he's on steroids?
No, the fans claim that he's on steroids because of all those veins that he has. It's
like
so
super ripped.
Yeah, super ripped. It's so many veins that seem so grotesque. I understand why people think like that, but if the man, you have to think about it. If the man was on major steroids, WWE would have got rid of him because he's not one of those guys that's protected by the company like you think he is. You know, they're just going left field, all the way left field, and they've taken a guy from there and brought him in. Is he going to win the championship? Who knows? Even if he wins the championship, how long is it going to be? And if he loses it, when's he going to go for it again? This is his once-in-a-lifetime opportunity. Let's see what happens. That's my opinion about it. I mean, he's Indo-Canadian, I'm Indo-Canadian, so therefore I'm going to support it. That's just my biasness. I'll admit it. I'm a bit biased about that, but I'd like to see him go for the title. That's my 2 cents.
He's Canadian?
From my understanding, yeah.
Really? Where's he from?
I don't know that much. All I know is he's Canadian.
I didn't know that.
So there needs to be a lot of emphasis on the World Championships, because the World Championship is probably the one thing you want to win in your lifetime. Even if you look at The Miz, how he's putting so much emphasis on the Intercontinental Championship. So why can't they have a guy that puts emphasis on the WWE Championship?
You know, what is the World Heavyweight title worth when it's literally been split in two? You know, the WWE title of the universe. Is that the top title right now because it's on Raw?
Pretty much.
You know, like I feel like when I'm watching SmackDown that the WWE World title is like the second-rate title now. And like before the split, there was only one title, and that it was worth something. And so, and personally, like I just the WWE Universal title is so ridiculous, I don't even give it any credit, really. Like, I actually like the Intercontinental title better
than the Universal.
Because I don't understand the Universal title, because to me, it's just a way to have another title on Raw.
Well, yeah.
And that's it. They can't bring in, they can't have the World Heavyweight title again, and then the WWE World title.
Well,
which they might, they could have done, but
they could have just brought back the ECW Championship. Oh wait, you don't want to see that, right? They could have brought the ECW Championship.
They'd have to ask Rhino.
No, they don't. Rhino. Hey, Rhino's on Raw right now. They can ask him right now.
Oh yeah, that's true.
Yeah, they can, but they didn't wait. They didn't wait for Rhino to bring the ECW title back.
In case any of you didn't know, Rhino has the original ECW title at his house. But WWE has a new title. But
yeah. But don't forget, he was the last ECW World Champion for the actual company that Paul Heyman completely fucked over financially. He made it good for wrestling fans, but he fucked the whole company financially. And he also has the ECW World Television Championship, because he was the last one to win that as well, before Paul Heyman fucked it up financially. Did I mention Paul Heyman fucked up ECW financially?
I don't know. I don't think you did.
Well, there you go. Paul Heyman fucked it up financially. I'll mention this much about ratings. I'll tell you right now, it's 2017. Ratings don't matter. Ratings are as worth as blueberry pie. It's worth, blueberry pie is actually worth more than ratings.
I actually like blueberries.
A lot of people love blueberries. I mean, they've got antioxidants. It's good for your skin, Obviously, that's good. I mean, in regards to the ratings, because now people don't use traditional TV, they use internet, so that doesn't count for ratings. And when you have a Monday Night Raw party, which probably most people do now, they probably get 10 of their friends to come in, and that counts for one viewer on TV.
Yeah.
I can't see cameras knowing how many people are in one house watching TV. If you do group, like if Andrew and I were to watch Raw right now, would that count as 2 viewers? No, it only count as 1. So that's why the ratings go down. Yeah. That's one point. And the other 2 people watch it over the internet. Legally or illegally, I don't know. But they watch it through the internet. That's not going to count for TV ratings.
You think that's half the reason, or the main reason why the ratings have been bad?
That's the main reason. Because if so many people are talking about it over Twitter, then a lot of people are watching it.
You think it's more that versus the product is not the greatest?
I disagree. I mean, people may watch it and then turn it off, but they are still watching it. Yeah. I mean, at certain points, obviously the viewers, they're like, oh, they don't like it, they'll turn it off. That is true. But as a whole, most people don't use television or use cable for their television. And a lot of people buy Android boxes, they stream it. They live stream it. They may, I don't know if I don't know if USA Network has it, but Sportsnet has Sportsnet Now, which allows them to watch through internet. I don't know if that counts as TV ratings. I don't know. But if it doesn't, then that's the other thing. People are using internet for TV.
Yeah.
So that doesn't count for anything. So the ratings mean nothing. And that's the same with TNA ratings. It doesn't matter. If a lot of people are tweeting about it, they know about it, they're either watching it illegally or legally, but it doesn't count for TV.
Then again, like, when you talk about ratings are associated with compelling TV.
No, not... Well, maybe, yeah.
Now, when CM Punk was turned into the pipe bomb guy, and he was doing his gimmick, the ratings had reportedly gone up whenever he was on TV, and he had pretty well the highest ratings of the show when he started that gimmick. And, you know, and that's sort of going to segue into my last point, and that would be, and we touched on this a bit before, but it's just the fact of watching compelling TV. When CM Punk was on TV, I wanted to tune in. I wanted to find out what was going to happen next, what he was going to say next, and I was looking forward to watching Raw the next week to find out, you know, what's he going to say. And when I watch Raw now, I don't feel that way. I feel that I could miss Raw, and I'm not going to miss anything, and it's just going to be the same old thing. I mean, it's going to be, you know, an okay show they're going to have on there, but there's nothing on there that I'm looking forward to seeing. And, you know, when they had, earlier in the past, you know, when they had more compelling storylines, you wanted to tune in to see what was going to happen next. And I personally, right now, I don't feel that way. I don't feel that I need to tune into Raw to find out what's going to happen next, because I don't care, honestly. And, you know, I'll watch Raw because I like wrestling. I'll watch SmackDown because I like wrestling. I'll watch NXT. But there's nothing in there to hook me for the next episode.
It's tough when you're trying to make. It's tough when you're always trying to do one trick. I mean, they're trying to make a wrestling show. They're trying to do talking segments, and they're trying to fill. When you got a brand that's trying to fill in 3 hours worth of material, and they don't know how to do it, it's tough. You know, it's tough. I mean, they're too busy filling up 3 hours, and they still have to go overtime, which is the saddest part. Meanwhile, SmackDown's 2 hours, and they finish in 2 hours. They don't get overtime. If they did, they'd fuck up their whole show too. If they got overtime.
What would you do about the? Would you keep the cruiserweights in there?
I'd get rid of 205 Live, and anything that goes on 205, any storylines that's going on 205 Live, you'd put it on Monday Night Raw. You don't give them the whole hour. That's true, but you're able to split the segments up into 3 groups, because that's or whatever amount of time they use. You know, you got cruiserweight interview. You got 1 hour for the cruiserweights. You can do, I wouldn't say an hour for the women's division, because they don't use every woman in the division. They only use like 4 or 5 of them, and then the other 3 are like, okay, we'll see you next week. We'll see what to do, you know. And you're able to do storylines, then that's great. But what kind of storylines are you going to do? I mean, you got Neville with the King of the Cruiserweights, which works out, but they are on Raw just to strictly fight. And then they go to 205 Live to do their storylines. So let's bring the storylines onto Raw and forget about 205 Live, because you're just giving too many. You're just segmenting too many hours, and it takes away. I mean, you know. And then SmackDown has their SmackDown show, and then they have their Talking Smack. And now with now 205 Live taking over. Well, it's SmackDown, then 205 Live, and then Talking Smack. It's kind of dumb. So why not? You already have the cruiserweights on Monday night, so use the 205 show and just morph it onto Monday Night Raw. You know, you can call it the 205 Raw or whatever you want to call it, or just call it Raw. You know, and most importantly, forget about the purple ropes. That's what people get annoyed by. It is very annoying when you watch Raw, it's red ropes, and then all of a sudden it's purple because of the cruiserweights. It's kind of stupid, you know.
I actually don't mind the purple ropes.
But when you always have to change it,
well,
it's kind of dumb.
That it is kind of dumb. I mean, that's WWE's problem.
Yeah.
I personally don't mind it, but 205 Live is basically, it's basically like Sunday Night Heat or something. You know what I mean?
Much.
Like it's just that filler content. And I like the cruiserweights. I mean, they have the 205 show on the WWE Network, and to be honest, it's all right. All they do is there's no storyline really other than Neville, right?
Yeah.
But is there honestly, out of Raw and SmackDown, is there honestly a storyline that stands out to you that you are following, that you're looking forward to seeing the next week?
The Strowman and Roman Reigns saga.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I would have to agree with that. I like that one, but it's the only one that I
It's
really
the only
think
one.
of.
I mean, you got everybody else, I mean, the Miz and Dean Ambrose storyline is not bad. I mean, it's mainly because of the Miz, What Miz is going to say, what Miz is going to do, that's what you want to see. But, depending on how far it goes, we don't know.
I liked what the Miz was doing. I thought the match with John Cena and the Miz was just ridiculous, but
That was a complete waste of time.
I just like Miz's promos. I like his gimmick. I think that he gives 110% when he goes out there. But other than that,
There's not a lot.
It's cool to see AJ Styles out there, and it's the wrestling matches are good. But there's nothing, there's no, storyline-wise, there's nothing in there that appeals to me. Other than maybe the Strowman and Romans thing.
Strowman and Roman.
Yeah. And apparently everybody loves when Roman Reigns gets beat up and thrown off a ledge with a stretcher. So actually, there was a. Did you see the kayfabe news with the ambulance?
Oh, yeah,
and he's back the next week. The ambulance has an issue with Braun Strowman.
Yeah.
He's gonna fight him.
Yeah, ambulance is gonna get his revenge for being tipped over.
And when Strowman lifted up that ambulance, it looked so fake. It honestly looked so fake to me.
Can a man really tip a ambulance truck without? At least they made it real. At least they tried to make it look real. That Strowman was actually lifting it up. I mean, if a grown ass man can tip a truck, that's great, but that is a task that's really difficult and it's dangerous to do. So, don't try that at home, kids.
I don't think there'll be any kids watching this.
Don't try it at home, grown-ass men that think wrestling's real.
There you go.
And don't cry because I said wrestling. It is. They take real hits, but it's all predetermined. Don't cry. It was hard for me when I found out it was predetermined. Not really.
I didn't really care.
No.
So, that's where I'm at right now. I don't think that there's nothing compelling for me to watch it, and I enjoy watching the wrestling, but yeah, that's where I'm at. I think, going into the future with WWE, we've had several discussions about where this product should go. What do you think they need to do to make their product better?
This is a very difficult question to answer because there are things they are doing, but not effectively. They need to work on better rivalries.
Yeah.
Especially for championships. I mean, you look at Miz and Ambrose, they had the rivalry over on SmackDown, and then it went nowhere. It just went dead. And now they're bringing it back up again. But for how long is it going to stay relevant, And then, of course, you got to mix up the rivalries. You can't just be doing like Kevin Owens and Sami Zayn all the time. You got to do other ones, which is why I like that they're doing the Styles and Owens rivalry. They're doing, even with Nakamura, they're bringing him in. They're using a guy like Ziggler to fight him. you know, knowing WWE, they would find like somebody that he's already fought in NXT. You know, so like, I mean, you know, SmackDown's got Luke Harper and Eric Rowan. I hope they do more rivalries. I know they're gonna do Ty Dillinger and Eric Rowan on pay-per-view, which the problem is that's just gonna be a filler fight. It's not really gonna be anything epic. You know, like even on Raw, there's not a lot of rivalries. I mean, Bayley and Alexa Bliss are gonna keep rivaling each other. I don't know, but it's gonna and what goes with the Mickie James Alexa Bliss rivalry that started on SmackDown. It goes nowhere. That's the problem. They're not focused on bringing the rivalries to the table. They're just mixing a bunch of people up together and then having fights, which you need to do on TV. You can't have the same match over and over again, but you can always have a rivalry that's going to happen on pay-per-view. That's what you're focused on, is who do I want as my rivals for pay-per-views? And at this moment, there's the only rivalry that's going to pay-per-views on Raw is Roman Reigns and Strowman. And the rivalries on SmackDown, well, there isn't really one. I mean, unless AJ and Owens are going to be going for the next 3 months. I mean, the Jinder Mahal, Randy Orton thing, it's only going to be a one-time thing. And if Jinder wins, it's just going to be a rematch, and that's it. But if Orton wins, then they're just going to go straight to Rusev. So I hope that they do Randy Orton-Rusev's rivalry up until SummerSlam. That's what they need to do.
So you think that basically they just need
better rivalries.
Better rivalries.
And fresher ones.
Yep. More exciting television. I totally agree with that. And I think for me personally that WWE just needs to have compelling TV. It needs to make TV that I will check out the next episode the following week. And that, for me, that's what needs to change right now. I'm happy with the wrestling. I'm happy that they're pushing new stars. And, you know, I love what they've done with AJ Styles. And, you know, I think just at this point is better rivalries and more compelling TV. So this wraps it up for today's episode. Please tune in to watch our show. I'm going to be putting out a show every week. This is going to be one of my regular shows that I'll be hosting on my channel. In the future, we'll definitely have my good friend Nitin back, and we'll definitely have some other guests on our show to talk about the latest news and what we think about wrestling today. Thank you, Nitin, for being a guest on the show today. Where can everybody find you?
Well, I'll be on. I have a Twitter account. It's at nitspatel1987. If you want to tweet me, you can. If you don't, I really don't care. You know, you can address your opinions to me. If I respond to you, I will. If I don't, well, I won't. But that's where you can find me, at nitspatel1987, and that's about it. We will get the TNA on the next show. We
will definitely wear our WWE shirts. Actually, I'm going to buy Nitin an NXT shirt for the next show that he can wear. Yeah. So basically, if you've hated everything that Nitin said, you can tweet him anytime you want.
Anytime. And I'll get to you when I'm ready.
So yeah, this show is about opinions. It's about expressing ourselves, and you know, everybody's got their opinion and they're entitled to it. So please check out the wrestling show. I also have some previous episodes which I filmed quite some time ago, but please feel free to check them out. This show will be ongoing, and I'll be publishing regular content. You can find me at the Andrew K channel on Twitter, and you can also find me on Facebook / Andrew K channel.
I'm not on there.
He's not on Facebook. You can tweet him. Yeah. So thanks for joining us. I hope you enjoyed our discussion. We'll see you in the next video.
Stay fresh, everyone.
Keep it locked on the Andrew K channel. So...
I screwed you up.
I was just so far from here, focused on my own way, with never looking back to those who lived in fear. There was nothing